If you've spent any time online recently, you've probably seen advice telling people over a certain age to stop walking for exercise. The argument sounds scientific. Some claim cardiac surgeons are warning against it. Others say walking is destroying your joints. And honestly, some of these claims sounded convincing at first. So we did what any curious person should do. We traced the research, checked the sources, went back to the actual medical journals. What we found was interesting. Some of these warnings don't hold up as well as they sound, and the people who follow them might be giving up one of the most valuable activities for healthy aging, something we'll get into later. In this video, we're going to walk through what the science actually says, the good, the bad, and the surprising. And we'll share the exercise framework that major health organizations genuinely recommend. Let's start with the claims themselves. So what exactly is this advice saying? First, that walking doesn't protect your heart the way we've been told. Here's the idea behind this claim. When you walk, your calf muscles contract and squeeze the veins in your lower legs. This helps push blood back up to your heart, working against gravity. That's why some people call the calves your second heart. The argument is that regular walking doesn't activate these muscles intensely enough to get this pumping effect. So, they say, you should replace walking with seated calf exercises that squeeze harder and more deliberately. Second, that walking silently damages your joints. Their logic is simple. Repetitive stress wears down cartilage. The more you walk, the faster your knees and hips deteriorate. Specific exercises like counter push-ups, single leg stands, tai chi are upgrades that outperform walking for strength, balance, cognition. Now here's what's interesting. Some of the research they cite is real, but the conclusions being drawn from them, that's where we need to look more carefully. So we spent time tracing the research behind these claims, and we found they fall into three categories. Category 1. Studies that are real and cited correctly. Category 2. Studies that are real, but stretched beyond what the data shows. Here's an example. One study might show that balance training reduces fall risk. True, but the leap to, therefore stop walking, isn't supported by that same research. That's an interpretation, not a finding. Category 3. References that simply can't be verified. When you search for certain journal names or study authors on PubMed or Google Scholar, nothing comes up. Some journals that get cited don't appear to exist as actual publications. To be clear, these exercises do have research supporting their benefits for older adults. But there are no peer-reviewed studies that report these precise percentage improvements, like 42% or 55%. This is a common issue in online health content. So let's check what verified research actually says. Let's address the biggest claim first, that walking damages your joints. Researchers at Baylor College of Medicine studied people over 50 who already had knee osteoarthritis, joints that were already affected. What they found was the opposite of what these warnings suggest. People who walked regularly didn't damage their joints. They actually fared better over time. And this wasn't the only study. A separate analysis followed nearly 1,800 people and found that simply walking more each day was linked to better function over time. But why does walking help rather than hurt? It comes down to how your joints actually work. Cartilage doesn't have blood vessels. It gets nutrients through movement, like a sponge that needs to be compressed and released to absorb what it needs. And if you're worried about wearing out your cartilage from too much walking, the research doesn't support that either. Large studies tracked people walking up to 10,000 steps a day. They found no accelerated cartilage loss, even in people who already had knee problems. In fact, official guidelines from both American and European rheumatology organizations recommend walking as a primary activity for knee and hip osteoarthritis to improve function, reduce pain, and build endurance. And here's something worth knowing. When older adults do need joint surgery, it's typically due to natural progression, age, genetics, old injuries, or excess weight. Not from walking too much. Walking actually helps by lubricating the joint, strengthening supporting muscles, and reducing long-term joint stress. The National Institute on Aging, the American College of Rheumatology, and the CDC all recommend walking as a treatment for osteoarthritis, not something to avoid. So why do these popular claims say the opposite? The answer is simple. They confuse not enough with harmful. Walking alone may not be sufficient for everything, but not sufficient is very different from damaging. Now, there is one exception worth mentioning. In rare cases, people with existing bone marrow lesions may need to be more cautious with very high step counts. But this isn't the general rule, and it's something to discuss with your doctor if you have a specific condition. For most people, walking is protective, not harmful. But joints are just one piece of the puzzle. What walking does for the rest of your body goes far beyond what most people realize. It strengthens your heart and circulation. It protects your brain. It lifts your mood. And it may even help you live longer. One long-term study found people walking at least a mile a day had larger brain volumes, especially in memory and problem-solving areas. Their risk of cognitive decline was cut nearly in half. And that's just one system. Walking doesn't work in isolation. A major review of 75 controlled trials confirmed walking reduces depression and anxiety symptoms, no matter if you walk indoors, outdoors, alone, or in groups. And those changes don't just affect how you feel, they affect how your body ages. One of the clearest examples? Staying mobile and independent. A Northwestern University study followed over 1,500 older adults with joint pain. Those who walked briskly for just 1 hour a week had dramatically lower rates of disability. They were far more likely to keep doing everyday things like getting dressed, crossing the street safely, or moving around their home without difficulty. As lead author Dorothy Dunlop put it, this is less than 10 minutes a day for people to maintain their independence. That's the minimum to protect your mobility. But if you can do a bit more, the benefits multiply. Meeting the standard guideline, about 20 minutes a day, is linked to lower risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even certain cancers. Earlier, we mentioned the claim that walking doesn't activate your calf pump intensely enough, and that seated exercises are better for your heart. Here's what the evidence actually shows. Unlike seated calf exercises, walking doesn't just work your calves, it engages your entire body. Your heart rate rises, and when that happens, blood moves faster, delivering oxygen and nutrients to your brain, your muscles, and every organ more efficiently. Do this regularly, and your heart adapts. It gets stronger. Everyday activities become easier, climbing stairs, walking longer distances, without feeling winded. Over time, this moderate elevation in heart rate also helps improve blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and the flexibility of your blood vessels. Seated calf exercises have their place, especially for people who can't walk or need to stay seated for long periods. But they're not a substitute for walking. They work one muscle group, your heart rate stays mostly the same, and there's little to no cardiovascular training effect. One popular video even claims that most cardiac surgeons warn walking alone may not protect your heart, and that walking is overrated and even risky. There's no evidence showing that walking fails to protect the heart, and substantial evidence showing that it does. Large-scale meta-analyses, including a 2024 review of over 100 studies and more than 5 million participants, consistently show that regular walking reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and stroke. Walking isn't just exercise, it's one of the most powerful longevity tools we have, protecting your joints, brain, mood, independence, and your entire circulatory system. But here's the thing. To get these benefits safely, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Here's what the official guidelines actually say. Updated December 2024. The CDC doesn't tell you to choose one type of exercise. They recommend combining 3 things: aerobic movement, strength training, and balance work. The World Health Organization and American College of Sports Medicine agree. Now, here's what the popular advice gets partially right. Walking alone isn't enough. As we age, we lose muscle strength, about 3% per year after 75 if we don't actively train it. Walking is excellent for your heart and joints, but it doesn't build the kind of strength you get from resistance training. So the answer isn't to stop walking. It's to add strength and balance training to your walking routine. But here's something worth knowing. Some of the specific exercises being recommended online actually do have solid research behind them. We'll take a closer look at the exercises people are talking about. Some of these exercises are often presented as replacements for walking. In reality, they play different roles. Single leg stance. This one is real. This simple test turned out to be a surprisingly strong marker of overall health and survival as people age. The failure rate roughly doubles every 5 years after 50. But here's the good news. This is trainable. Practicing balance genuinely improves it. Tai Chi, also backed by solid evidence. Across multiple controlled trials, Tai Chi consistently reduced the risk of falls in older adults. The CDC specifically recommends Tai Chi for balance training. The sitting rising test. Good evidence. This measures your ability to sit down on the floor and stand back up without using your hands or knees for support. Chair squats build the same muscles tested here, the ones you use every day to stand up, climb stairs, and get out of a car. Wall push-ups and leg lifts. These have less direct evidence, but they're part of general resistance training recommendations. Good additions, not replacements. And the same goes for exercises like counter push-ups, step-ups, wall sits, and core moves like the dead bug. Studies on resistance and functional training in older adults show that strengthening the upper body, legs, and core improves walking speed, balance, and everyday function. And when these exercises are combined with regular activities like walking, the benefits tend to be even greater, especially for reducing fall risk. Now, before we move on, there's one practical piece that often gets overlooked when people try to apply all of this. This isn't about adding more rules to walking. It's about making it more comfortable, more confident, and easier to stick with over time. Before you start, warm up for 5 to 10 minutes. This isn't about performance, it's about protecting your joints and muscles. A quick safety check. If you've had a recent heart attack, unstable chest pain, blood clots, or an acute injury, talk with your doctor before starting. Where you walk matters too. In the beginning, choose flat, even surfaces. Uneven ground can wait until your strength and confidence improve. Now, let's talk about how you walk, because comfort and safety depend on it. According to Harvard Health, your gaze should be about 10 to 20 feet ahead, roughly 3 to 6 meters. This helps you notice obstacles early, while reducing strain on your neck and upper back. And here's the key insight. When you do need to check the ground, lower your eyes, not your head. Constantly dropping your head puts unnecessary stress on your spine. Studies of natural walking show people typically look 2 to 3 steps ahead when placing their feet safely. Finally, progression. If 30 minutes feels like too much, start with 3 10-minute walks. As that becomes comfortable, combine them, and after a few weeks, gently introduce small hills. There's no rush here. Consistency matters more than speed. Walking works best when it's part of a bigger picture, one that supports strength, balance, and long-term independence. So let's zoom out and look at what a well-rounded week actually looks like. When you put everything together, a reassuring pattern emerges. Healthy movement after 60 isn't about one perfect exercise. It's about three simple components working together. First, aerobic movement. This is where walking shines. Not because it's extreme, but because it's sustainable, familiar, and effective. Second, strength training. This is the piece many people skip, even though it supports posture, confidence, and everyday tasks like standing up or carrying groceries. And third, balance. Balance training isn't about athletic ability. It's about staying steady, responsive, and independent in daily life. When you see it laid out like this, an ideal week doesn't look overwhelming. It looks manageable. Short sessions, familiar movements, repeated consistently. This formula follows CDC and ACSM guidelines for adults 65 plus, because it's sustainable and proven to work over time. But there's one more piece that matters just as much as the exercises themselves. Understanding when this plan fits you, and when it's better to pause or adjust before starting. Everything shared today is based on peer-reviewed research and official guidelines, but every body is different. If you have certain medical conditions, it's important to get medical clearance before starting. This usually includes heart conditions, joint problems that limit weight bearing, uncontrolled blood pressure, or balance issues. This doesn't mean you can't be active. It simply helps you start in the safest way possible. And if you ever experience chest pain, severe shortness of breath, dizziness, new leg swelling, or persistent pain, stop and seek medical help. These guidelines exist for one simple reason: to help you move with confidence, feel stronger over time, and stay independent longer. Before we wrap up, let's pause for a moment and bring everything back to the few points that actually matter. So here's what to remember. Despite the warnings you may have seen, walking actually protects your joints, and research consistently shows that. It supports brain health and is linked to better cognitive function as we age. It also plays a powerful role in mood, helping reduce anxiety and depression over time. And it strengthens your heart, improving circulation and significantly lowering your risk of cardiovascular disease. Walking by itself isn't a problem. It's a great foundation. It just works best when it's supported by simple strength and balance training. When those pieces come together, you get a routine that's realistic, evidence-based, and built for long-term independence. There's a lot of noise out there. Evidence helps us move forward with confidence. If this helped clear up some of the confusion, consider sharing it with someone who might need it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.